Hello folks, R1 here. You know, there's been a lot of to-do going on the forums and with all the YouTube commentators about the new game mode that Gaijin has brought to War Thunder. Full hardcore simulator mode. I decided I had to try it. I have avoided simulator battles so far in my playing of War Thunder. Frankly, I'm not a simulator pilot. I'm more into different aspects of the game than the pure hardcore simulator aspect that War Thunder did reasonably well before. Now they've gone full bore though, with no markers on the maps whatsoever, and I decided, well, I'm going to have to try that. Now, I was reluctant, I will admit it, because let's face it, nobody likes to look foolish, especially if you do a YouTube broadcast. And I was kind of afraid that's exactly how I was going to look. I was completely out of my element. I have jumped in the cockpit once or twice and been totally worthless. And I have jumped into the turret of a tank once or twice as well, but I am so hard-coded to look for those indicators on the screen that there would be a tank right in front of me and I wouldn't even see it. I knew I had a lot of, well, not bad habits, but gamer habits. I knew I had a lot of them that I was going to have to break if I was going to do any good at all in this mode. So I thought, you know, if I'm going to do this channel justice, I need to try this out. So I bit the bullet and I jumped into what I considered probably to be the vehicles that I would most be at home at on the ground, the flak vehicles. I tried the German flak vehicle first, and it's a pretty good vehicle actually for this type of mode. However, I was having a little problem with, believe it or not, target identification. And I decided that it was a lot easier to identify at a glance German aircraft to begin with, until I got used to it, than it is to identify Russian aircraft. So I decided to switch sides and jump into the GAZ, well, the 72K GAZ flak truck that the Russians have. And it's one of the vehicles allowed in the current hardcore simulator event that's running on the particular day that I was filming. Now, I find it a little ironic that I chose, for this most dangerous and challenging of all War Thunder events, I chose to jump into the vehicle that was probably least likely to survive. I mean, let's face it, the GAZ, it's a truck. And that's all it is. It's not even a very good truck. It's got a wooden bed. They mount a 25mm 72K cannon on the back. One of them. And it's a pretty good gun. To be perfectly honest, it's got a very nice rate of fire, a good clip capacity. I couldn't complain about the gun, but you know, it's a tin box. 1mm of thickness is all you've got. Well, okay, you do have the little blast shield here. You're meant to prevent small arms fire, but it's 7mm thick. That's not even going to stop any kind of a serious machine gun. You're hanging out in the wind when you're in this vehicle, and it doesn't get any better anywhere on the vehicle at all. If you're lucky, maybe your engine will take a hit that would have killed your crew, but usually the rounds that are coming at you punch right through it. The machine guns on the aircraft that you will face can easily kill you. Even the small caliber ones. You have no cover. And it's interesting, the commander sits, I guess he's riding shotgun, which is a little odd to me, and the driver. Then you have your gunner, and in the very center there you have the loader. And boy, they must have been brave gentlemen, because that's a scary place to be. Well, anyway, this is what I took into the hardcore simulator mode in War Thunder. And I have run it in realistic mode, and some in arcade matches too, with some fair degree of success. It has some advantages in this mode over its German counterpart, and some disadvantages that are kind of odd. I actually found it a little easier to track aircraft with this gun than I did the German version, and I think its rate of fire is a little bit higher, which makes it easier to scream a line of shells across enemy aircraft when they're moving fast. I never did. Well, I don't think I managed to land any solid hits on any fighters. They're moving just a little bit too fast for me at this point in time. But I did have some success against ground attack aircraft. There is one quirk, and I think it's more of a bug with this vehicle than anything else, that I'm going to point out to you here in just a moment. Oh, and look at that. You know, I think that hole right there, I swear that has got to be where they stick the crank to start this thing. It is an ancient rust bucket that probably should be sitting in a junkyard rather than carrying men into combat. It only has one headlight, and that of course has the blackout cap on it. And well, they conveniently chose to hang the horn underneath it because there's no more room under the hood. The hamsters are taking up too much space. It's really bad. But yet at the same time, it did its job. Considering what it is, it did its job remarkably well. Now this match took place on the Poland map, which I was pretty happy about that. I'm very comfortable and very familiar on this particular match. I decided that I had probably better just stick with default ammunition. That way, no matter what I ended up shooting at, I was going to have a pretty good chance of damaging it fairly early on. And yeah, this is a little disorienting for me. I know a lot of people just love the fact that this is all you get. No markers on the mini-map, no nothing. You have no idea if you got friends or foes around you unless you physically identify them. Now fortunately, I do have several people spawning in at this point with me. But now here's the flaw that I mentioned earlier. Unlike its German counterpart, they haven't modeled in the front cab of the truck in this particular view. It's actually a little hard to tell precisely what direction you're traveling in. You can't see the cab or the nose of the truck. And I found that to be a little disquieting at first. I wasn't expecting it to begin with, and I was a little nervous about this mode anyway. Isn't that silly to be nervous about a mode in a video game? But there's something about it's very difficult to avoid trees when you can't see where the front of your vehicle is too. But there is something about this mode that is kind of eerie, kind of disturbing. In a way, it's almost a little too realistic for me because you have to tune your senses to your environment, and that really is great in most ways because it makes you feel so much more like you are actually there on a battlefield with your senses keyed just as high as they can possibly go, because you have no idea from one moment to the next where fire could come from. You could be taken out long before you heard the shot or heard the engine of the enemy vehicle. Well, they always used to say you never see the shot that kills you. And it's held true, actually, for me in the few matches that I've run on this map. You just don't know where they are. Now there's a Stuka right off the bat that swung in. One had buzzed by me before and I completely missed it, but I'm going to try my luck here. So that's a nice smooth rate of fire. It is smoother and a little quicker, I think, than the German flank vehicle. that I tried out. And I can't quite get the lead right. I'm not used to this gun yet. So it's going to take me some time, and now he's just simply too far away. And like I say, target identification is a little bit of a problem for me, and it doesn't help staring directly into the sun. I think that was a Focke-Wulf up there, and I think a Messerschmitt. But at the time, I wasn't sure, so I held fire. Well, the last thing that I wanted to do was to be guilty of a friendly fire incident. I had a hard time getting used to the feeling of absolutely being exposed to anything coming at me. At least when you're driving a tank or a tank destroyer, you have that sense of solidity around you. You've got some armor. You may be able... That's a Sturmovik. We don't want to shoot that. You may be able to survive the first hit and get a bead on where the danger lies. But in this, nope. You don't have a prayer of surviving the first hit, unless you're superhumanly lucky. So you will see me scanning frantically around throughout this whole match, most of the time, until I get focused on a particular task or target. Now, I had to put some thought into where I wanted to sit. I chose this particular location because I've got some low hills that provide me cover from the town and give me some distance from the town, and yet I'm still close enough that when enemy aircraft attack vehicles in the town, they usually swing within my range of fire. But if they see my stream of fire coming up, which it's pretty darn hard to miss, at least I have some trees I can pull under to make myself more difficult to see. I've got these hills that I can maneuver around one side or the other to provide me cover if tanks come at me out of the town or try and flank me from that far line of trees over there and get shots in on me at range. So I've got some terrain to work with. Most of the time I'm going to be exposed somewhat to give me a good view of the sky. I could sit under the trees all the time, but then I would never see the aerial targets that I was there to take care of. And there were a lot of planes in the air on this match, and they had a fairly big impact on this match. So I'm really actually pretty glad that I chose this particular vehicle because, frankly, my team needed some support against the enemy German aircraft. Visibility was bad. We were going straight into the sun, or nearly so, for most of the match. One of the spawns is directly in line with the sun, almost directly in line with the sun, and there was a light haze, and it made it very difficult to see clearly at any kind of distance. Now, if I had gone down into the town, that wouldn't have been as big a deal, but there, you know, I would have rounded a corner, and the first enemy I ran into would have destroyed me easily. So I had to deal with the limited visibility out here. Now, it got a little easier if airplanes went past me, so I could turn my back to the sun. Then I could see them much, much more clearly, but I found myself squinting at the screen, almost subconsciously. Which maybe that's high praise for the game. When you have that strong a reaction to the environment that they have created. It was very, very easy to lose myself in this particular virtual world. It is one of the most immersive experiences that it has been my pleasure to experience in a video game. And frankly, I'm amazed that I found it to be quite so profound. Before I forget, one other thing that was very unnerving was to hear an airplane pass by overhead. You could clearly hear the engine pan past you, and to snap your head around and scan the sky, and you never see the airplane. It was there, it's there somewhere, one went by at some point and I never saw it. If he had seen me, and if it was an enemy, that would have ended the match. Well, it wouldn't have ended the match. I would have had one more spawn. There's a Stuka. Again, we're trying to get our range on this. Oh, so close. And he did the right thing. He pulled up, he made himself difficult to hit, and he spun around. I don't know if he's got fighter support up there with him or not. If he does, then they can clearly see where my tracers are coming from and can strafe me on the ground. So I'll cut fire as soon as I can't actually see him anymore. There's no sense in giving my position away any more than I already have. And he manages to evade me. This is going to take a little practice. And I have this feeling that he's probably going to come back looking for me, even if he doesn't have a bomb loaded anymore. His machine guns could kill me easily. I consider repositioning, but I think I'll hold my ground here. I've got such a good view of the town here. I'm going to hold my position until I know for sure that someone is trying to find me. And you know what? I think he is, because he just came through at a slightly different angle. Let's try that again. So close. Kept zooming in. I didn't have very good luck zoomed in. It's a bit harder to lead them. You don't quite have the perspective that you need to see how much you're missing by when you're zoomed in like this. But somewhere in the midst of this, I do manage to clip him. Not a lot, but it's all that I needed. And he goes in, and I get credit for the kill. Whoa, and that was damn close. He has an escort, and that escort's a little bit pissed. So it's time to pull back under tree cover before I end up being turned into Swiss cheese. And okay, I'll admit it, that actually startled me. I jumped when the machine gun bullets started kicking up dirt all around me. I did take a little damage. One of my crew members was knocked unconscious during that attack. It was intense. You're so focused on what you're doing. You have no crutches to lean on that, man, you're in it. And when you come under attack, you feel like you have come under attack. It's pretty amazing. Now, I'll have to play a few more matches before I can say this with any certainty. I think that they have done a very good thing here. I think that this is a excellent way for them to run the simulator aspect of War Thunder. Would I want to play it all the time? No. No, I am not a simulator enthusiast. I respect deeply those that are. I get a little too tense. It stresses me a little bit. Now, I'm not going to rule out that I could start playing this mode all the time, assuming Gaijin continues to offer it. I may find myself living for this mode above all the others after a while, but at this point in time, it stresses me a little bit to play this. I'm not real relaxed. I'm enjoying it, but I'm not having what I would typically consider a great gaming experience here as far as fun and relaxing. Ooh, there's another one. I'm too wrapped up in it to relax and enjoy it, but I did enjoy it. All right, he's flying directly away from me, and that's so close. You were the luckiest little Stuka in the world. Bless your little heart. But I liked it. I will play this from time to time. I just don't know if I can bring myself to play it the majority of the time. Maybe I'm the one who's wound a little too tight. But I do recommend it. If you haven't tried this mode, if you're a little intimidated by the simulator mode in War Thunder, pick an easy vehicle. Pick a ground vehicle. It's a whole lot easier to wrap your head around. Ooh, he's looking for me. He wants to kill me bad. But the ground combat's a whole lot easier to get into than the aircraft are. The aircraft are a lot more complicated, and it's a lot more difficult to spot your targets. So pick a ground vehicle and give it a whirl. And if you have a lousy match or 3 or a dozen, don't give up. Allow yourself time to actually get used to it first, because it's a whole different world. It's going to take a little time. And you may find after the first time somebody drives right by you and doesn't see you, and you get that perfect shot and blow him to hell and back, you may find yourself enjoying it too. Just be prepared for an intense experience. Now I'm considering whether or not I need to relocate. The enemy team has just captured the B capture point on the other side of the lake. And I'm a little concerned that they might swing around that lake and come up on me from the front. Well, actually, it'd be from the front. I've got the... no, I've turned myself around. I had to run. It would be from behind. Now I've got my nose toward that Stuka, which I don't want because I can't get my gun down in line very well. I need to turn my side to him and bring my gun to bear. Here he comes. I still think he's looking for me. He's going to do the exact right thing. He's going to go low and get under my guns. He went too low and he crashed. Perhaps my incoming fire buzzing just over his cockpit forced him down. I'm going to say that's what happened. I'll give myself an unofficial kill there, or perhaps an assist. There we go. An unofficial assist for that Stuka going down. We know that's not true, but humor me. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go a little closer to the town, actually into the outskirts of the town. I'm thinking that I need to get over there to the C capture point and try and cap it, and I died. I was shot out of nowhere by my own teammate in a T-34-57. Wow. But while I'm disappointed and saddened by this, and I'm going to point it out in chat because I want to let him know that, hey, he needs to watch his fire. It is completely understandable. This vehicle looks an awful lot like its German counterpart, and unless you can see it quite clearly, it is very easy to misidentify it. And that is something that I hadn't considered when I got in this vehicle. So it's something you would have to be aware of. I don't begrudge it, the fact that he shot me accidentally. It's going to happen in this mode, even in the more easily identified tanks, especially from aerial attack. Airplanes have a hard time. Oops. This is what happens when you spend your time driving, looking at that enemy fighter up there, and worrying about it instead of where you're going. I actually hurt myself doing that in this little tinfoil Hot Wheel truck that I'm in right now. But friendly fire incidents will happen. Don't get mad about it. It's not their fault. Well, it is their fault, but it's an understandable accident that can occur, and you may end up being guilty of it yourself once in a while. So far, I found most people to be fairly forgiving of that, within reason, as long as it wasn't just a case of gross negligence. And there's a Hinkle bomber. That is, he's got a fighter escort, and I'm out in the open, but this is too good an opportunity to waste. I nailed him dead on with 2 or 3 rounds there, and he just flops out of the sky. But now he had a fighter escort, and I have got to get moving. Where is he? Where is he? It's a Focke-Wulf, I think. Oh no, it's yeah, he got oriented on me a little too quick. I could not get to cover. But you know what? It's okay, because we had taken that base back. As a matter of fact, the guy who killed me helped take it back, and we won the match. So I'm okay with that. For one of my first outings in this mode, I was pretty well pleased with how it turned out. Well, that's a little adventure you took with me today. If you haven't tried it yet, please consider doing so. I think you'll enjoy it. I'm going to leave you with that. And until I see you again, in whatever mode it may be, good hunting.